new concerns about safety at U.S. amusement parks after a boy is killed and a girl critically injured in separate incidents. That's next on Newsroom LA.
Criminal defense attorney Brian Claypool joins us now to talk more about this. So, Brian, the assumption that most people make when they go on one of these rides is that, oh, it's terrifying, it's scary, but I'm always going to be safe. But you make this assumption that's been inspected and it's up to a certain standard, but that just isn't the case here in the United States. You cannot make that assumption.
It isn't the case, and children beware. Instead of amusement parks we have in the United States, it's like amusement pandemonium, because there is very little regulation going on in these amusement parks. In fact, I think the ride in Kansas had only been inspected one time during the year. Now, do you think that's enough? I mean, these rides that are inherently dangerous, I think, need to be inspected daily basis, or at least on a weekly basis.
Okay, so you just mentioned these rides are inherently dangerous, so there is a risk. Knowing that, what is the level of personal liability here as you get involved in something like that?
Well, the difference between what's called legally assumption of risk, that means, like, for example, if you go to a baseball game and a foul ball is hit into the crowd, hits you in the head, you've assumed the risk of getting hurt at the game. But that's different than getting on a ride that has a defect, or a ride, for example, like the Ferris wheel in Tennessee that hits another cart and then flips upside down. You're not assuming the risk of that. That's something you don't contemplate happening. So at the end of the day, there has to be inspections to reduce human error. For example, the little boy in Kansas, was he even tall enough to be on that ride? Did he weigh enough? Was the seatbelt properly strapped? Did the seatbelt malfunction? Those are issues that don't apply to assumption of risk.
Okay, because there is no oversight, no one really has any idea how many people are hurt each year at amusement parks, which then, if you take it, if you extrapolate that out, we don't then know how dangerous the amusement parks are.
Yeah, well, here's the problem, I think, in getting accurate statistics of accidents that occur at amusement parks. And by the way, in the last 5 years, 40% of injuries have occurred on water rides, yet only 11% of rides at amusement parks are water rides.
Right, okay.
Here's the problem as I see it on a legal end. Anytime somebody's hurt at an amusement park, these amusement parks want to zip the lips of the victim. So they negotiate out-of-court settlements, and then as part of the settlement, they have what's called a confidentiality provision, which stops the victim from talking about the injury. So we don't have accurate statistics. And on top of that, these amusement parks are required to report their own injury, their own accidents. I was about to ask you that. Aren't
they legally required to offer up that information?
It's crazy. They're supposed to report accidents that occur. There's nobody monitoring the accidents occurring. That's like asking, for example, a restaurant to pick up the phone and call the Department of Safety and say, hey, I have an unsanitary condition in my restaurant. Do you think the restaurant's really going to call?
Yeah. So parents and mums and dads coming for a vacation to the United States, so if you're living here right now, just
be very, very
be
careful.
Very, very careful. Brian, good to speak to you.
Brian, thank you.
You bet.
Appreciate
Thanks
that.
for having me.